Good evening, Spirit and Truth Sanctuary. Good to see everybody on this cold December evening. I was a little cold today, and so I'm usually not cold natured, but I said, ooh, I'm going to put my little sweater on with my hoodie and teach from that tonight. So we're glad you're here. It is a little chilly outside, but it's warm in here, and we know that we are in for some incredible teaching tonight, not necessarily from the material, but really from each other. And that's how every week happens right here as we're going through the Power of Now on Wednesday night. And so not only are we glad you're here, we're glad you brought your mind, your reasoning, your intellect, your questions, your curiosities. Welcome to Spirit and Truth Sanctuary. As always, the whole household of God is both welcomed and wanted. We know that God is bigger than religion. God is bigger than any temporary human label or even definition that we either place on God or on each other. We are bigger than our race, bigger than our religion, bigger than our gender, our sexual orientation, our country of origin. We are spirits having a temporary human earthly experience and expression. And so if you're registering with that, if you're vibrating, if you're resonating with that in any way, Spirit and True Sanctuary might be the place that you're supposed to call your next spiritual home. We're glad you're here tonight. We know as always that change is the only constant in the universe. We all change, but we change at our own pace and in our own space or spaces. We also know from experience that religion has a tendency to tell us what to think, to demand for us to accept what the teaching is. Spirituality is a little different. It not only doesn't tell us what to think, it teaches us how to think. And so as always, we haven't really come to teach you anything tonight, but really just to remove the obstacles, the filters, any pitfalls that would keep you from seeing, knowing, remembering, recovering what you already know deep within your soul, your psyche, and in your consciousness. We have been entertaining the idea that we are not our thoughts, we are not the thinker of our thoughts, but we are the observer of the thinker who is having the thoughts. That's been an amazing aha moment, awakening for us at Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, because it creates separation. Not separation from God, but separation from our thoughts. As I was training both of my children to play basketball, they were both highly successful in one of the largest school districts in Georgia, and not the tallest. You both know my kids are not really all that tall. But I trained them how to make certain moves to create space, to create separation. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do through this series, is to create space. Create space from what? From your thoughts, to know that you're not your thoughts, and even from the thinker. You're not even the thinker of the thoughts, you're the observer. It's a good illustration of that is when we talk about using our computers or your laptops or even your mobile device. We use what's called search engines to find things we want on the internet. Sometimes, today I was having to do an evaluation, and Safari, a specific search engine, was not able to cooperate to find that. And so what did I do? I switched from one search engine I switched to Firefox. And so I'm still the observer of this search engine that's finding the thought that I want, but I'm not the thought. I'm not the specific thing I'm looking for on the internet. I'm not even the search engine that is finding the thing I'm looking for. I am the observer. I'm the operator of that search engine finding that thought that I want. And so that's kind of a way that we create separation. You're not that. You're not your thoughts. You're not the thinker. You're the observer. So if we've created any emotional attachments, or as Eckhart Tolle says, any type of false identity of who we think we are by our thoughts, our prejudices, our biases, our conditionings, our filters. Watch this, even our emotional attachments to things that have happened to us. We know that we are bigger than all of those things. We're trying to not put labels on experiences of good and bad. We're even trying to not judge our thoughts, to observe it, but not to judge it. We're going to talk about that, the power of awareness a little bit tonight. So we're becoming aware of the voice that comes from the conditioning of our minds, any collective cultural mindsets. Sometimes we inherit them from family, from race, from culture, religion, from gender. All of these are filters that help or either hinder us in the interpretation process of situations. we have been flirting with the idea, what if there are no problems in our lives, just situations? Or a little more positively, just opportunities. And so how we judge present situations either transforms them into a problem or into an opportunity. And so we're trying not to put judgments really of good or bad on anything, just to see it and then to observe ourselves in the seeing of it. That's a lot of philosophy up front, but we certainly are glad that you're here tonight. As always, your comments are welcome and wanted. I think we learn as much or more from each other than we do from the teaching, and that's certainly a compliment to your mind and to your willingness to share how God is using your mind and using you as the observer of your mind. Always, you can download your notes in our event description. We'd love for you to follow along with us. And so without any further ado, let's take a big deep breath, close those eyes. As we take and give that breath, we are aware that we are the beginners. We're celebrating tonight the beginner's mind. We are not what we have heard. We are the hearing. We declare tonight that faith is coming by hearing, not by what we have heard. We know, God, that you have spoken, but we are open to what is being said tonight. Tonight we humble ourselves. We purposefully walk into the kingdom as children, childlike minds, curious and inquisitive. We celebrate tonight the ideas of Galileo that God would not endow us with sense, reason, and intellect, and then forbid us to use them. And so we say tonight, come, let us reason together. Let there be light. Let there be awakening. Let there be aha moments in this place and space tonight. For it's in the name and nature of Jesus the Christ we pray. They all would say, amen, amen, and so it is. Let's read our prayer of surrender together. This is our invitation of truth, the way we get our minds, our souls, our spirits ready to receive what Spirit has for us. Come on, let's read. Spirit of truth, carry me where you will. Bring to me what you will. Take from me what you will. Awaken in me what you will. The Christ man is around me. The Christ mind is in me. The Christ power flows through me. And the Christ mystery exists as me. I believe it. I perceive it. And now I receive it. I am surrendered. Amen. And so it is. All right. Tonight is going to be a little bit, it's going to be the same format, but a little bit different. We, in preparing the notes, we were right at the end of a chapter, and so there wasn't quite enough information or enough to create an entire night's worth of teaching. So we kind of spliced together two teachings. They are cohesive. They are connected and parallel in some way. And so we're gonna finish up one teaching, go right into the next. But I think you'll see the level of continuity and be able to follow along with us. So tonight's beginning teaching is entitled "The Inner Purpose of Your Life's Journey." The inner purpose of your external life's journey. So we're going to go inward tonight. We know that the kingdom of God is within, as within, so without. We say a lot of times it's an inside job. And so as we try to navigate around some external distractions, we're going to try to point ourselves back to what's happening in the inner space and in our consciousness tonight. I think you'll be able to follow along with us. The inner purpose of your life's journey. When you're on a journey, it is certainly helpful to know where you're going, or at least the general direction in which you are moving. But don't forget, the only thing that is ultimately real about your journey is the step you're taking at this moment. That's all there ever is this absolute moment. Your life's journey has an outer purpose and an inner purpose. The outer purpose is to arrive at your goal or destination, okay? To accomplish what you set out to do, to achieve this or that, which, of course, implies future. We talked Sunday a little bit about the danger of ambition, and ambition forcing us out of the now into projections into the future. But if your destination or the steps you are going to take in the future take up so much of your attention that they become more important to you than the step you are taking now, watch this, then you completely miss the journey's inner purpose. We're going to talk some tonight about not just getting somewhere, but being where you are. Not just arriving somewhere, but but the process, the inner process, the mental space and place where you are on that journey. Okay, which has nothing to do with where you're going or what you are doing, but everything to do with how. My goodness, if I could give you a quick illustration or parallel with that, many people have knowledge. They have the what, but they don't have the wisdom and how to apply the knowledge or the how. So I have information, but revelation, which brings me eventually to elevation, means that I know how to use the what. I have the what. Now I've got to allow Spirit to awaken me to how to use the what. And so we say things like a word in season. Jesus would even say things like a soft word turns away wrath. Agree quickly with your adversary while in the way with them. Don't think about what you will say. Let Spirit move you in the moment. All those are the how. The religious order of Jesus, they had a lot of what. Most of them, even to be considered Pharisees or teachers, had to almost have the entire Torah of Moses memorized. They had to memorize the first 5 books, the Pentateuch of the Bible. And so they had a lot of what. Even Jesus' encounter with the teacher of Israel, he said this: how is it that you are the teacher of Israel, Nicodemus, and you don't know what I'm talking about? Nicodemus knew scriptures. He knew at least the 5 books of Moses, probably had them memorized. And Jesus said, you must be born again. You must be born of Spirit. You must get to a different level of what you're trying to attain. And Nicodemus goes, what do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. He said, how is it that you have the what, but you don't have the how? How is it you have all this information, but you don't know how to apply it? Now that's what we're trying to gain tonight is the outer purpose or journey is the what. Where am I going? What do I want to do? What specifically am I doing for work or a career? The inner journey is how I'm doing it. What does it mean? What's going on inside of me? Okay, it has nothing to do with future, but everything to do with the quality of your consciousness at the moment. We say a lot of times at Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, truth is a journey, not a destination. It's very difficult for people who are very self-starting or sufficient. They're headed toward a specific goal. Spirituality doesn't have a specific goal. It's all about the how. It's not about the what. We can take the what of a Bible. Okay, I can take the 66 books, the scrolls, to Biblia, and I can tell you, I could probably, if you were to quiz me tonight, I could probably tell you the meaning of all 66 books and who wrote them. I've been studying the Bible a long time. Just because I have the what, just because I know Scripture and can recite something to you, doesn't mean I know how to rightly divide the word of truth. The word of truth is the what. The how is how do I discern between flesh and spirit, between emotion and eternal truth? How do I discern between what is everlasting precepts of God and what really are the prejudices of man? The what is there, it's the how that we're talking about tonight. Okay. The outer purpose belongs to the horizontal dimension of space and time. The inner purpose concerns a deepening of your being in the vertical dimension of the timeless now. Your outer journey may contain 1,000,000 steps. Your inner journey only has one, the step you are taking right now. I put that in bold. That really resonated with me. Yes, my outer journey may take me many different places, many different steps, many different journeys. Of course, yes, many different paths I may take in life. However, my inner journey only has one step, and that is the step I'm taking right now and being present in this moment. As you become more deeply aware of this one step, you realize that it already contains within itself all of the other steps, as well as the destination. Isn't that amazing? The journey of 1,000,000 steps it's all in this one step. And the destination is all in this present moment. This one step then becomes transformed into an expression of perfection, an act of great beauty and quality. It will have taken you into being, and the light of being will shine through it. I put this in this next sentence, I bolded in my own notes. This is both the purpose and the fulfillment of your journey, the journey into yourself. Whew, so why are we here? That's a really epic question, isn't it? Why are we on this earth? If you're a Christian, you were probably raised with some type of understanding of salvation. You probably have confessed Jesus as Lord. You've believed in your heart that He's God's Son, or the Son of God, or divinity. In some ways, reconciling you. Some of those are beliefs that you have. Okay, once you had those beliefs, why are you still here? Now that you got saved, why are you still, well, I'm saved, but now I've got to be sanctified. Now I've got to be consecrated and set apart, or maybe even a little bit higher in thought. Now I'm here to take dominion of the earth, to be a kingdom subduer of creating, being salt and light and influence everywhere I go. Okay, but even a little higher than that is, you're not just on earth to get saved from the devil or the devil's hell or something of that nature. You're not just here to have an impact on government or science or medicine or whatever you think it is. You are here about you. And the thing that's happening in you is what will be reflected outside of you, but you're not really here for an outer purpose. You are here, I believe, and I perceive, as Dr. Michael Beckwith teaches, we are all here to wake up. We're not here to do any specific thing. We're here to wake up to our own divinity. We're here to remember, to recover, to be able to express or experience in flesh what we've always known in the ethers or the ethereal realms. Bishop Pearson says it this way. We are here to wake up, and Bishop Pearson adds to this, to what? To our divinity. This waking up process is our inner journey. We're here to fully wake up to who we are as divine beings. Let's keep coming. Your outer purpose only matters to you as long as you haven't realized your inner purpose. Woo-wee! We're going to get through this teaching tonight. My goodness. Your outer purpose, the thing that you do, only matters until you find out who you be. Your doing only matters until the being wakes up. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what you do. You can do a lot of different things. You can teach. You can manage. You can argue the law. You can create business. You can work with your hands. You can do many things. But your do only matters until your be comes alive. I do this. I can do a lot of things, but my beingness is really what's at stake here. Jesus, watch this, was concerned about being a male, being a man, or being a male. Jesus of Nazareth was concerned with being a Jew and the separation that meant from other nations, other people, other beliefs, other cultures. Okay, his outer expression was concerned with these things. If you read at least a charitable reading of the Gospels, we can tell Jesus was concerned with his Jewishness. He was involved in the culture. He was involved in the rituals of being a Jew. He was very connected to his being a male. He talked a lot sometimes about women. Woman, why are you talking to me? Men or women, we don't talk to each other that way. Watch this. He was very concerned with his outer purpose until he awakened to his inner purpose. It was a very big deal. You got to go to the temple. You got to read certain prophets. You got to do it on this day. All these were the customs, the outer purpose he was raised in. Okay, religion is an outer purpose. But when he started waking up to who he was inside, all of that outer stuff started to fade away. He started saying things like, I must go through Samaria. I came to not to keep you, but to unite you. Watch this. The hour is coming and now is when we will worship God in spirit and in truth. And he says that to a woman who is of a different race, different culture, different religion, different gender. He didn't care anymore about those external, as Dr. Howard Thurman would say, those external accidents. He didn't care anymore about that. He was more caring about what's happening within. Watch this. No longer the coming kingdom. My outer purpose is waiting on the kingdom, waiting on the rapture. That may be your outer purpose until you wake up to the kingdom that's within you right now. All right, let's keep coming. After that, the outer purpose is just a game that you may continue to play simply because you enjoy it. Your career, your your doingness, your activities. Yeah, you may continue to do those things, but really it's just because you enjoy doing them. You know it's not who you are anymore. It is also possible to fail completely in your outer purpose and at the same time totally succeed in your inner purpose. Woohoo! My goodness. Is anybody registering with that? I might be able to fail completely in my career, but be totally successful within myself. Those are not always the same thing. Or the other way around, which is actually more common, outer riches and inner poverty. Can I say it this way? A public success, but a private failure. Or, as Jesus said, okay, to gain the world and lose your own soul. I've gained the world, but I've lost my soul. I've accomplished an outer purpose, but my inner purpose has starved to death. So, let's go a little further into that. What will a man give in exchange for his own soul? That word in the Greek, soul, is the word psyche, which is where we get the word psyche, psychology, psychiatrist, psychological. All of these things are referring to your thoughts. So, in other words, what will a man give in exchange for his thoughts? For the way that he's perceiving? What will you give in exchange for your observation? What will you give in exchange for your curiosity? Will you sacrifice your inner purpose to come here to wake up, to use intellect, to reason that you are divine and a divinity unfolding? Or will you sell those things for success in the outer expression? That's an interesting question that we have to kind of wrestle with right there. Keep coming. Ultimately, of course, every outer purpose is doomed to fail sooner or later, simply because it is subject to the law of impermanence of all things. Can I take you here? 1 Corinthians 13. Where there are prophecies, they will fail. Where there are words, they will cease. Okay. Where there is revelation, it will dry up. Where there are tongues, they will cease to speak. All of these outer expressions are doomed to fail, and they will go away. Has anyone noticed, and I'll be as cautious as I can here, has anyone noticed how many prophecies are having to be retracted right now after the election? Are you aware? Are you observing? Are you awake? Okay. And then the re-explanation of why the prophecies fail, and what are we learning through this? That it was a specific false prophecy? No, that our lives are not dictated by somebody else's words. You don't live your life by what some other prophet says. You live by the inner being, the inner knowingness of what Spirit is saying to you. And so prophecies are going to fail. All of these outer expressions are, even sometimes our specific calling will come to an end. But what is the greater calling? To wake up to the impermanence of all things, that I am not the destination, I am the journey. I am that inner being. The sooner you realize that your outer purpose cannot give you lasting fulfillment, the better. When you have seen the limitations of your outer purpose, you give up your unrealistic expectation that it should make you happy, and you make it subservient to your inner purpose. Because we're about to go into the next half of the teaching, let me just share a little bit, I guess, from my own journey. My outer purpose is to be a pastor, to be a teacher, to be a preacher. What I believe I can say with some level of both confidence and humility, if that's not a contradiction, is that for most of my earthly life, I have not allowed my outer purpose to get in the way of my inner purpose. What does that mean? If my outer purpose is being a preacher, teacher, speaker, pastor in some ways, I've not allowed that expression of what I do to be greater than what is happening on the inside of me. What does that mean? I've not sold my soul for offerings. I've not sold my inner being to create a big mega church, which usually involves some type of prosperity gospel, fear tactics, constant raising of money, promoting yourself. I just have never been willing to give that part of my inner purpose away to experience certain things in the outer purpose. And so The older I get, the longer I live, I'm happier and happier and happier. And so I'm still willing to perform or to do my outer purpose, but it's not a drudgery to me. It's not something that I dread. I love to do it. Why? Because I never allow the outer purpose to be more important than what's happening on the inside of me. If members come, if members go, I've learned to take it with a grain of salt. Why? Because I'm more concerned about what's happening in me, in my inner space, than what's happening in the outer space. And I think if you guys know me, you might would say that you believe at least that's partially true. Okay, we're going to segue into the next part of the teaching that's still very, very connected to what we have been talking about. The past cannot survive your presence. The past cannot survive not just your present, but your presence in the present moment. There's no need to investigate the unconscious past in you, except as it manifests at this moment as a thought, as an emotion, a desire, a reaction, or an external event that happens to you. Whatever you need to know about the unconscious past in you, the challenges of the present will bring it out. Man, that's a lot in 2 sentences to begin that teaching tonight. What do I need to know about my past? Some type of shame that I was fooled by religious thought. I was in some type of cult-like thinking, or I was unawakened or blinded by emotionalism or hype in some ways, or the fantastic. No, I don't need to understand all that. I don't really even need to travel back to it. Why? Because the challenges of this present moment are going to bring all of that out. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? Let me say it a little bit differently. This is how we say it at Spirit and Truth sometimes. The universe will send to you whatever is necessary for the evolution of your consciousness. Chew on that for just a moment. What does that mean? Life is going to present you, whether you call it the universe, God, the Holy Spirit, karma, action, reaction, whatever label you want to put on it. Things are going to come to you and through you that are there for a purpose. What are they there for? To wake you up, to cause you to fully grasp your divine creative power, more specifically, for the evolution of your soul and your consciousness. We are here to fully unfold as divine beings. So, what does Tolle mean when he says everything we need to know about our unconscious past will be presented to us in the present? I'll say it to you this way from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, okay? About verses 13 and 14. That which was, okay, is now. That which will be has already happened, okay? So that history, King James says, so that God takes an account of the past, but Amplified, or the Teacher's Version, specifically says, so that God causes history to repeat itself. What does that mean? Not in the timelines or linear way of seeing your life, but in the circle, in the cycle of your life that is unending. You are not with a beginning, you are without ending. That in the fullness of the grace of God, you're going to keep being able to see things over and over and over until you fully awaken to that thing. So what does that mean? If you didn't learn the lesson or fully awaken the first time around, you're going to get a chance to do it again. Okay? If you didn't learn from the first kick of a horse, the horse is going to kick you again. If you didn't learn from the first time you put all your faith in a man and he failed you, you're going to get to learn it again. If you didn't learn the first time that there is no such thing as a perfect church, you're going to get to learn that one again. If you didn't learn the first time that the kingdom of God is within you, not waiting on the moon to turn blood and all these wars and rumors of wars, if you didn't learn it the first time you set a date for the rapture, you get to learn it again. If you didn't learn the first time that a politician, whether president or a local senator, is not your source, you're going to get to learn that lesson again. It all continues to come back around, not for torture, but for teaching. Not to punish you, but to purge you. Of what? Your reliance on anything other than the Spirit of God that's within you. Look at the beauty of God happening in this now moment. If you delve into the past, it will become a bottomless pit. Woo! There is always more. You may think that you need more time to understand the past, or or to become free of it. In other words, that the future will eventually free you of the past. This is a delusion. Only the present can free you of the past. Wow, maybe if I keep living long enough, I'll be free of my past. Maybe in the future at some point I'll be free of the past. There is no freedom offered in the future. It's only offered in this now moment. More time cannot free you of time. Listen to that quote. More time cannot free you of time. We say it all the time that no problem can be solved using the same consciousness that created it. So if time is the problem, can't solve it by time. If you're trying to get rid of the past, you're not going to get rid of it by projecting into the future. More time doesn't solve the problem of time. How do I get rid of time? I live in this now moment, in this present awareness. Access the power of now. That's the key. The power of now is none other than the power of your presence. Your consciousness liberated from thought forms. Whew. How do we liberate our consciousness from thought forms? Not in the thoughts, not in the thinker. It is in the observer of the thinker. That's how you liberate your thought forms. Okay, keep coming. So deal with the past on the level of the present. The more attention you give to the past, the more you energize it. And the more likely you are to make a self out of it. Am I making a self out of my past? If I am, that's a false self. It's a false identity. You are not who you were. You are not what happened to you. You are the awareness. You are the observer of those things. Anything else is a false identity. Keep coming. Don't misunderstand. Attention is essential, but not to the past as the past or in the past. Give attention to the present. Give attention to your, listen to this. This is so good right here. Give attention to your behavior. That means be aware of your behavior. Give attention to your reactions. I'm not my reactions, because my reactions are coming from hurt, insecurities, fear, any idea of less than. So I'm not the reaction. I'm not the thought. I'm not even the emotion tied to the thought. Watch this. I'm the awareness of my reactions. Whew. Give awareness to your moods, your mood swings, your mood changes. You're not your mood. You're not the thing causing your mood. You're the observer. Why am I having this mood? My thoughts, my emotions, my fears, my desires as they occur in the present. In other words, be the observer. Be the observer of all this stuff happening in your mind. That lets you know in the observation of it, you're not that. You're not the thought, you're not the reaction, you're not the fear, you're not the mind having it. And only the observer has the power to change the thoughts. Be the observer. Why? Watch this. Not just what am I thinking? Why am I thinking this? Not just am I afraid or I'm having fear. Why am I afraid of this? That's all of this. I want this thing. I have to attain this thing. I have to buy it. I have to consume. I have to project out into the future my happiness. Why am I projecting my future out into happiness? All of this power is in the awareness of the thought process. The past is in you. If you can be present enough to watch all those things, not critically, watch this, or analytically, watch this, or judgmentally, but in non-judgment. Do it non-judgmentally. Then you are dealing with the past and dissolving it through the power of your presence. Whew, can we stop here? So in other words, in the awareness of your past, don't become the judgment of your past. Let's come to the present moment. In the awareness of the thoughts you're having now, lower vibrations of fear, jealousy, neglect, insecurity, concern, anxiety, don't put a judgment on it. The more you judge it, the more it becomes who you are, or you become the judgment. See it non-critically, see it non-judgmentally, then you become the awareness of it instead of the judgment of it. So you don't become the judgment, become the awareness. You cannot find yourself by going into the past. You find yourself by coming into the present. As you become more conscious of the present reality, you may suddenly get certain insights as to why your conditioning functions in particular ways. Wow! As you become more present, as you may suddenly get these aha moments That's why I react this way. My conditioning, my filters, my collective experiences from my past are causing the reaction in my present. I'm not judging it. I'm the awareness of it. Now it's in the awareness that I have the power to change it. For example, why your relationships follow certain patterns. How many people have I counseled with over the last almost 30 years? They just trade one spouse for another, looking for love in all the wrong places. Yeah, I'm continuing to search for all these places, for love in these places. It's not there. Why? Because I'm still projecting all of my past, all of my anxiety, all of the false identity that I think I am into my present relationship. I can't experience the right kind of love until I get rid of all those past ideas. I have to be fully present in that awareness. All right. And you may remember things that happened in the past or see them more clearly. I'm not my past relationships. I'm not my past failures. I'm the awareness of those things. That is fine and can be helpful, but it is not essential. What is essential is your conscious presence. That is what dissolves the past. That is the transformative agent. So don't seek to understand the past, but be as present as you can. What does that mean? You got to get rid of the desire for closure. I need some closure. I'm trying to understand the past and I need closure on this. You're never going to get it. You're always going to, with the past, as Tolle says, it's a bottomless pit. One question, one judgment, one fear leads to another. How do I get rid of it? I remain present in this moment. The past, so don't seek to understand the past. Be as present as you can. The past cannot survive in your presence. It can only survive in your absence. Well, I want to read that one more time before we open it up. The past cannot survive in your presence. It can only survive in your absence. Your absence from where? Your absence from the present moment. Your absence as the observer. I'm caught up in my thoughts. I'm caught up in my emotions. As the thinker, I'm caught up in my past. So I am now absent from my present. The only way the past survives is when you're absent. That's a lot to chew on tonight. Hopefully somebody's received the blessing from tonight's teaching.
Well, earlier Richard shared our outer purpose or journey is meaningless if it does not fulfill a far greater purpose, our inner purpose.
Yeah, the temporal, Richard, I would that what you just said resonated with me. As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, deep calls into deep. When you said that, it reminded me of the Apostle Paul's teaching of temporariness, or of the temporal world. In other words, things that we can see are temporary. It's the things that are unseen that are eternal. And so, what are the seen things? The seen things aren't just objects, not just this phone or this coffee cup or this laptop. What is seen are even things of accomplishment. This is my career. This is what I do. That becomes the external expression. And so the only way that I can tap into the now or to the eternal that resides in the now is to stop putting my trust, my faith in things that are temporary. Build your hopes on things eternal. What does that mean? On the unseen. What is the unseen? The journey of the awakening that's happening in you right now. I love that, Richard. Beautiful.
Miss Bobby shared, don't dwell on the future, live in the now. It might take several steps to reach your destination, but remember, the only person you should try to impress is you. Discovering your inner purpose is key.
Wow. Miss Bobby, you preaching some Barack Obama right there. That's good stuff. In President Barack Obama's autobiography, there's a chapter that's dedicated to the preservation of his own soul. And can you imagine? Just think about our local elections right now. Think about what's happening in the Senate runoffs and all the things that we're exposed to daily, mailers, commercials. It's unending. That's a local election. Imagine the progression from being a local politician to the highest politician in the land, the presidency of the United States. Can you imagine how many hands Barack Obama had to shake? How many how many times he had to meet somebody in the middle. It wasn't exactly what he believed, but he knew in order to get something accomplished, he had to compromise. He sometimes had to flatter some people, had to patronize others. Why? For the good of the whole. That's the nature of politics. So in that process, he was speaking in his autobiography, how much of myself can I give away and still be me? How much of me can I give away to accomplish an outer purpose and not give away my inner soul? So the quote from that chapter, he says, "The longer I'm in politics, the more I realize I am only accountable to the person I'm looking at in the mirror. I'm only accountable to my reflection." That's the way Jesus says, what will you give in exchange for your soul? And so we are not our past. We are not the ways that we've had to be diplomatic in the past, or certain doors we've had to kind of creep through and we've had to fake it until we make it. All those are part of our outer expression. We've all had to do it at certain times. But hopefully we've not given so much of ourselves away that we don't know who we are eternally. And so that's kind of what was happening in me, Miss Bobby, when you posted that tonight.
Your good friend, Reverend David Alexander, popped in.
Reverend!
He said, "Ooh, that will preach. Capital preach."
Preach! Preach, preacher!
The past, recounting what you said, the past only lives in your absence.
Only alive in your absence. Now think about, I did a week of teaching at Reverend David Alexander's former spiritual community in Oregon. And one of the things that he wanted me to do was to give back to his spiritual community, which was kind of a conglomeration of people coming out of Christianity and different places that had kind of let them down in some way, whether it was about their sexual orientation, their intellectualism, the idea of sin, fear, Bible thumping. And so I came in for an entire week and taught in a New Thought community from the Bible. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Why? Because many times they're very afraid of the Bible. It's in their absence, in their hurt, they had become somewhat absent in their present moment. So David said, Reverend David said to me, this is a need for healing. Or as he would say, there needs to be some healing work here. If people are not wanting to take communion, not wanting to say the name Jesus, not wanting to associate that with the Bible, it's not because the thing in itself is wrong, the outer is not wrong, it's because they are absent in their present because of their past hurt. So I spent a week teaching a different perspective of the Bible, teaching communion, not as a bloodthirsty God, but as Jesus willingly speaking the language of blood to reconcile not our souls, but the minds of mankind. At the end of the week, people were coming to me with tears running down their face, and you gave something back to me. In other words, what they were saying is, I'm no longer absent in my present. I'm no longer trapped in my past hurt. You've given me some healing over this thing. And I was very skeptical to do it. I didn't want to do it. And Reverend David was in the background like, I told you there needed to be some healing work in this community. And he was right. I have to admit he was right. And so whether it's past hurt, whether it's projections, and trying to figure out closure of the past, you know what closure is? It's all worked together. It's all brought you to where you are in this present moment. I will not be absent from the now, stuck in my past. Very good. Thank you, Reverend David.
So Pastor Gloria wrote in that I believe the prodigal son came to himself and tapped into the divinity or the Father that was within himself. And there was a divine awakening or connection.
Ooh.
It was just so interesting. And then she wrote again, today I was experiencing the outer and inner purpose for my life. I was questioning the what, when, and why.
Wow. Y'all are killing me tonight. These have been so good. Pastor Gloria, that was profound. The prodigal son came to himself. Isn't that an interesting place of the inner purpose? So his outer purpose, let's think about his outer purpose. His outer purpose was as a son. It was as, in some ways, a big spender, maybe the life of the party. His outer purpose was, these poor decisions that he was making or trying to experience some level of independence away from his father. All these were part of his outer expression and experience or purpose, but they pale in comparison to what was his inner purpose. What did we read? I'm going to try to go back and find it. Watch this. You don't have to remember the past. You don't have to explain the past. Why? Because in your present situation, the past will always present itself. So, in the hog pen of life, when the prodigal son is at his lowest point, he doesn't have to remember his past. His past is presenting to him, again, why are you here? What is your thought process? And in that moment, he chose to awaken to the now. He came to himself. He no longer was fear. He was no longer guilt. He was no longer bad decisions. He was no longer the pain of parental fantasy living in his father's house. He was no longer the pain of his failures as an independent person. He was completely present, or he was no longer absent. He was completely present in that now moment. He came to himself. There is no return to the Father's house until you come to yourself. I've got to come to myself. And so we can talk about all the mistakes he made, all the poor choices he made. We can talk about the hog pen. We can talk about the food. We can talk about the pigs. All of those things are outer purposes. They're external accidents or consequences of thought. They only mean something as they awaken you to coming to yourself. Awakening to who you are in this now moment. So good, Pastor Gloria. Thank you so much.
Richard actually commented in another piece here. Our journey or outer purpose is just a necessary test that allows us to process and better understand that which we need or must learn or know so we can better succeed in the game of life.
Wow. Think about, Richard, with that in mind, some of the necessity of the outer world. I know it sounds weird, but how do we explain Jesus being baptized? Matthew, the end of Matthew chapter 3. Comes up out of the water. God says, "This is my son, I'm well pleased." Immediately, the next verse, which is the beginning of chapter 4 of Matthew, then the Spirit drove. King James says led, but the students' versions, the handbook that really tells you what this is meaning, says, then the Spirit drove Jesus into the wilderness to be tested by the devil. Well, we know he wasn't there with the devil. He was there with his own consciousness, especially from the original Aramaic, the Khabouris manuscript. He was there with uprightness, no devil. I think the Aramaic word is adkirsa. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was there with his lower self and his higher self calling it to come up. And so, that seems like a necessary journey for Jesus. So when we say the devil made me do it, maybe there is some truth to that. What does that mean? There's something in you that is trying to necessitate your coming up higher. Whether it's Jesus being driven into the wilderness, whether it's a thorn in the flesh of Paul that he at one point perceived as a messenger of Satan to keep him humble so that he could continue to receive revelation to write the Bible, at least the greater part of the New Testament. 13 books of the New Testament credited to Paul, or at least one of his scribes. How do you rationalize that the devil was keeping Paul humble so he could write the Bible? In other words, Paul would have to write in the footnotes of his letters to the churches in Asia Minor, "I just want to give a shout out to the devil for helping keep me humble so that I could write." There was no devil. There was only Paul, Richard, necessarily going through some things. Paul was a very arrogant individual. If you read all of his self-promotions, he's this self-proclaimed apostle. No one taught me anything. I only received direct revelation from God. I don't confer with flesh and blood. Dear God, Paul's got a lot. He says he's humble, but he's got a lot of arrogance he's dealing with. And so, in that process, there are some necessary things that are waking up in Paul. Don't count it all joy. Count it all joy. It's all producing something greater that's within you.
So Miss Josephine Walker.
Yeah, are you kidding? That Josephine Walker, I'm her seventh son of 77 children. Love you, Miss Josephine.
She said, "Thank you so much for this. When I talk to family members, they keep bringing up what happened in my past, but I want to live in the now of my life right now." And she said, "I am in the now of my life right now, and I am enjoying it. Thank you so much for this."
Wow. Thank you, Josephine. What a blessing that is. You know, one of the most difficult things in my life is having to deal sometimes with both people and inner pressure that I feel to always be aware of the past, to try to explain the past, to try to make sense of the past. Even as simple as this, where I have a little in our basement in our house, I set up a little basically makeshift workout room because I wanted to still remain healthy in COVID and not be exposed to everybody at the gyms and all that. And so in that little workout room, I've got my daughter's plaques of her breaking records. I've got my son's 1,000-point ball that all his teammates signed. I've got them sign their college scholarships. I've got all these things on the wall. And it's wonderful, and I'm proud, and I'm glad they accomplished those things. But I'm always surrounded by the past. And sometimes when I'm in that workout space, I have to remind myself, this is not who your children are. They are not basketball players. They are not their past accomplishments. They are a present, living spirit, moving, living, and having their being in God. Celebrate their now. Don't get stuck in their past, because as parents, we become nostalgic. We want to live in what our children have done and when they were little. And oh my God, I wish. There's nothing wrong with nostalgia. We all feel it. But always as a parent, I try to tell myself, be present in your child's now. Be ever present in their now. And so, Miss Josephine, whatever your past mistakes are, I'm present with you right now. Whatever my children's past mistakes or even accomplishments are, they pale in comparison to my celebration of who they are in this now moment.
Irma shared, I love this thought process. It teaches us to look within and not allow our outer selves to take control and rule our inner lives. What's more important, your inner thoughts and desires or your outer wishes and hopes? I choose to take the journey and reach my destination than trying to reach my destination without going through my journey. I need to go through my inner purpose. But I thought about the quote when I read this about is it so within
as within
without,
so without?
As within so without. Your thoughts become your life.
Wow. The Buddha said it this way, Miss Irma, that man is the sum total of his thoughts. Wow, that's heavy. Now, from Tolle's perspective, we are not our thoughts. We're not the thinker of the thoughts. We're the observer of the thinker having the thoughts. But Buddha kind of took the middle ground out of it. He just said, look, your thoughts are going to produce your life. And so as Dr. Michael Beckwith says, your life becomes a looking glass through which people can see what you've been thinking. You have no secret thoughts because your secret thoughts show up as your life. What does that mean? In reference to what Miss Irma was saying, that means I have to be aware at all times of my thought processes. Not in judgment of them, not in criticism necessarily of them, but in awareness of them. I'm not the external things, I'm the inner. I'm going to talk, I think, unless the Spirit changes my mind, I'm going to talk a little bit on Sunday, which is my birthday, about what is true giving. Or maybe I'm thinking about terming it giving from agape. Giving from an agape love. We know there are different levels of love. There is this eros love, that's this romantic type of love. There's this philia, that's more of kind of like a family type love. There's this storge love, that's like a friendship love. But then there's this agape love that is giving from a pure essence. It's giving with no connection of what I might get in return. The agape love, Christ first loved us before we even responded to love. Wow. And loves us if we don't respond to it. God is love. Nothing can separate us from love. No action, reaction, even our lack of response to God's love does not change the pure agape love that is vibrating toward us. And so, what gets in the way of our love? Miss Irma was talking about the outer expression. Sometimes, do I love as a white person? Do I love does my maleness get in the way of my love? Does my Americanness? Does my Christianity? Do I love through my Christianity? Or can I remove all of those filters and just love as love? If you can answer that question, I need to come have some coffee with you. How do we learn to love without any external accidents, without any of the outer purpose? Just loving as love. If you love because it affects you some way, it's probably not the highest form of love. If you love other people that look like you, that have the same life story as you, that have the same journey as you, then that's really more loving, kind of selfishly to some degree. It doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong, but how can I love someone that I can't specifically get anything back from? Is it coming from that pure place of love? We're going to talk about that a little bit on Sunday. Thank you, Miss Irma.
So that's it for tonight, but let me take the opportunity. I'm not really dressed for this. I'll come around here. I didn't get dressed to be seen tonight. I came up from work last minute.
We're staying warm. It's cold.
I came up from work last minute for tonight. But let's not forget Pastor D.E.'s birthday party in the parking lot this Sunday, which is going to be very exciting and fun. So we're going to end service a little bit early so everybody can come by from noon to 12:30 this Sunday, and we're going to have some cake to pass out for those who are comfortable. We hope you'll come by. It'll just be a drive-by for Pastor D.E.'s birthday. We posted some information out on our social media with some video from Bishop Pearson, who was so sweet to send us a message. And we'll also send you guys an email probably Friday just as a reminder. But spread the word. We didn't get something out in the mail, and we want to make sure everybody knows. So spread the word and get everyone to come out, and we'll have some fun for D.E.'s birthday on Sunday.
Come do it. You can tell all your friends you're going to do a drive-by on your pastor. Isn't that interesting how that has taken on a different connotation? Thank you in advance for all the love. Every single year I'm overwhelmed by your outpouring of love for me. And as I said Sunday, I literally spent almost an entire day just reading the handwritten notes of love, and we're on this journey together. Thank you for how far we've come together. It never is less sacred. And so I'm certainly thank you for your love. Let's read as we close tonight our affirmation. And I think there's a lot of power in this affirmation, hopefully, to be able to continue to wake us up to being the observer of the thinker having the thoughts. Come on, let's read. I am not my thoughts. I am not the thinker of my thoughts. I am the observer witnessing the thinker thinking the thoughts. Tonight, I'm not the voice in my head or any limitation of an inherited collective cultural conditioning, religious indoctrination, or even my past experiences. This week, I will mind my mind, free my mind, be free of my mind, and surrender to practice no mind. That's some good stuff. We love you guys. We look forward to seeing you again.
Out.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
We just have tons of folks on tonight.
I'm so sorry. That was a fault of my head, not of my heart. Let's give some shouts out to Miss Emma, Roberta, Cindy, Sheila, Ben and Vicky. Call Ben up and tell him what you want. Pastor Fred and Mary, Ivy and Margie, Minister Pastor Virgie, Joanne, Tamara, Myrna, Taria, Terry, Annette, Callie, Lenora, Doreen, Rosaline, Esther, Irma, Glenna, Alicia, Sylvia, Pastor Don, Crystal, Bobby, Sherby, Pastor Curtis and Esther, the dual tandem, Dr. Sharonda Buchanan, Pastor Gloria and Archbishop Howard Harris, Miss Elaine Jeffries, what you mean, Jelly Bean, Reverend Dr. Jesse Harriet, Pastor Cassius and Caroline, Susan, Jacqueline, Eve, Richard, Justina, Jennifer, James Card, my old friend, my young friend, Cheryl, Natasha, Tayo, Regina, Reverend David Alexander, Pastor LaDonna Kimba, and Reverend Nicholas O'Rourke, all the way from Philly town with your cheesesteak self. I love me some Reverend Nicholas O'Rourke. What a brilliant thinker he is.
And he commented and he said, best pure teaching around found right here. All spirit, all truth. We love you so much.
Love you guys. Have a great week, and we'll connect with you again on Sunday morning. Go in peace.